Community Energy Project is premiering its new documentary, Grassroots to the Grid, on May 29th at the Red on Salmon in Portland. The film highlights local families and advocates leading clean energy and climate action across the city. And the event includes a community resource fair at 2:30 p.m. before the film screens at 5:30 p.m. Get tickets now at cepdoc.eventbrite.com. That's cepdoc.eventbrite.com. Did you know it's now legal to pass people on bicycles in a no passing zone in Oregon, as long as they're riding at less than half the speed limit? If you're thinking of passing a bicyclist, ODOT recommends to first just be patient, wait for a good moment to pass, and then once it's clear, to move fully into the next lane and pass at 5 miles below the speed limit. And lastly, wait until you see the bicyclist in your rearview mirror before you move back over. When you take these steps to avoid crowding people on bikes, it keeps everyone safe on Oregon's roads. A message from ODOT.
Hey Portland, it's executive producer John Notarianni here. At the end of today's episode, we have a sponsored interview with Diamore Law Group. Attorney Anna Brunkenhofer is going to talk with me about representing survivors of sexual abuse and why holding the institutions behind powerful abusers accountable is such a critical part of their work. Brought to you by Diamore Law Group. And a heads up, this final segment mentions some sensitive topics, so please take care when listening.
Today on CityCast Portland, it's primary election day. We're talking about the Metro Council races, as well as a proposed city budget amendment that would stop funding Portland's largest homeless service provider. Plus, we'll dig into our mailbag to hear from you, our listeners. With me are KBOO News Director Althea Billings and our very own senior producer Julia Fiaioni. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with me this morning, you guys.
Hey, Claudia.
Hello, good morning.
Hello. I feel like it's been a little bit since I've been on the show with either of you.
Yeah, it has been a minute. Althea, I feel like I haven't seen you in ages.
It's been multiple weeks, which should be illegal as far as I'm concerned. But I'm very happy to be back.
Should be illegal. Yeah. Now, before we jump into the news, I usually ask an opening question so any new listeners can get to know our guests a little better, or remember them if they forgot who they are, like Althea, because we haven't seen her in forever. And today's is based on a real-life encounter our senior producer, Rachel Monahan, witnessed out in the wild. She saw what she thinks was a new Portlander receiving their very first passive-aggressive note. It was left on their car by someone possibly complaining about their parking. We'll never know. But Rachel suspected it was his first note, and he might also be new to the area because he was genuinely confused and concerned. Most of us would just roll our eyes, crumple it, and move on with our day. Now, if you lived in Portland or the Northwest long enough, especially if you didn't grow up here, you know many people are walking around this town without a single fear of getting punched in the face because they grew up in nice, passive-aggressive neighborhoods where the worst someone will do is leave you a condescending note about your behavior. But passive-aggressive notes and bumper stickers are how most Portlanders communicate. So my question to you both is, what is the craziest note you or someone you know has received from a concerned citizen?
Okay, so I have not been driving in this city for very long. It's been less than a year. So I haven't had the pleasure of receiving a note. I think that's because anytime I have to parallel park, I get out and I get the passenger that I'm driving with to do it for me.
Pause.
I don't know how to parallel park.
Pause, Julia. The reason Julia doesn't know how to parallel park, folks, is because she specifically went to a DMV in the LA area that does not require parallel parking. Shout out Rancho Cucamonga. Julia cheated.
But I don't think Oregon requires it either.
Was that?
Really?
You know what? That explains so much.
That is a crime.
Parallel parking or backing around a corner, which my license was from Washington, and we had to learn that one too. And I asked like Oregon people about it. They're like, literally, what are you talking about? That doesn't happen.
Wow.
Here.
See, I'm just blending in at this point, but this is all to say.
Sorry, Julie, continue.
My only experience with something similar is I've honked at somebody once because I forgot that people don't honk here. And the visual reaction that I got from the person driving in front of me, that cut me off. It was sad. It wasn't even upset. It was just like, oh, that didn't feel good. And I was like, oh no, I feel terrible. I'm never doing that again. I'm scarred forever, but that's the closest thing.
The closest thing to a note. What about you, Althea?
Well, I love honking at people. And then people honk at me and I give them the, I'm sorry, you're right, my bad. You asked this and I was like, that's never happened to me. When I know that I've parked like a jackass, I've justified it in my head and gone on with my day. But I think I actually have gotten one and I think I was ashamed. And I like buried the memory and like stuffed it down in the car door to like reveal 2 years later when I bothered to clean it out. And I was like, oh, damn, I guess I did park like a jackass. I've been workshopping an idea for a new thing to put on somebody's windshield, and it would just say turn signal. But is that like, is that too mean? Because it's like really delayed. It's like, okay, we did park in the same spot. Gotta flip one on, my friend. It is really confusing. Yeah. You're careening around looking for parking, and it's not safe, and I don't want to be here for it.
Okay, this would involve it not being a rainy day, but like a sticky note on their actual turn signals that say, here they are.
That's so good.
A little click, click. You heard that one?
Good.
Yeah. Man, we're just giving out gold. I do want to share Rachel, our senior producer, who basically brought us this story at our meeting this morning. She also mentioned the wildest note she saw. So this car in our neighborhood had been booted up, and someone left a note on this booted up car that basically said, I know you can't move your car, but you shouldn't have parked here to begin with.
Insult meet injury.
What is this? What is this booted up car supposed to do?
They clearly have bigger issues.
Yeah.
Someone trips and falls and you're like, well, you should have looked where you were going. So
exactly. Oh, man. Thank you for your answers. On to the news. I'm actually kicking things off. As some of you know, we're about to hit a new city budget cycle. So that means our city council is about to start proposing and passing a slew of budget amendments. Our new city budget is expected to be adopted by June 17th and go into effect by July 1st. So they don't have a lot of time. And right out of the gate, foie gras hating City Councilor Mitch Green, sorry Mitch, has proposed an amendment that would restrict funding for Portland's largest homeless service provider, Urban Alchemy. The plan is to slowly cut them off, funding them only until the end of September, while beginning the process of looking for a new provider or providers to replace them, because they right now are managing a lot of these tiny villages. So if you're new around here, Urban Alchemy was hired by our previous mayor to manage his then city-run tiny home villages. They're still going. Before that deal went through, there was a lot of pushback from regional homeless advocates and providers stating Urban Alchemy did not have a good track record, also that his overall plan sucked. Now, there was so much hullabaloo that one of the Oregonian's then reporters, Nicole Hayden, who we've had multiple times on the show, actually went all the way down to California where Urban Alchemy is headquartered to further investigate them. And at that point, they already had multiple lawsuits filed against them in California. But even after all this pushback and investigations, Mayor Wheeler moved forward, contracting with them anyhow. Many speculated it was because he was really desperate. His tiny villages would have been the city's first attempt at providing homeless services, something that at that point was strictly handled by the county. And Urban Alchemy were the only ones that stepped up during the bidding process that would have been able to handle all of his sites for the funding offered. So I think he was just like, okay, you. And since then, more than 80 complaints have been filed with the city's auditor's office, mostly by residents of these villages and some by staff against other Urban Alchemy employees. According to K2, who has been tracking and investigating all this, the complaints ranged from accusations of sexual harassment by staff to drug use and drug dealing. Complaints that Urban Alchemy has adamantly denied, including those in the multiple lawsuits against them. K2 also reported last week that over the past year, at least 5 different Urban Alchemy employees were terminated from the nonprofit after they were arrested and charged with crimes ranging from domestic violence-related offenses to murder and drug charges. So,
oh my gosh.
I know. So all of this finally made its way up to City Council, and Councilor Mitch Green is ready to give them the boot. So what do you guys make of all this?
So this is largely not surprising that we've gotten to this point. Obviously, that contract came with a lot of, opinions about whether or not we should even be working with Urban Alchemy. But it does make me think of a poll that's been going around that was commissioned by the Oregonian. It just led me to think about this statistic a little bit more. So this year, only 33% of people said homelessness was a top issue in Portland. I mentioned that because that's much less than the 53% a couple years ago. And that makes me think, okay, like maybe we're figuring out this homelessness thing. But it's also making me think a lot of people just aren't seeing it anymore, which means that folks are being put up in these tiny home villages, places like this that are supposed to take care of them. And the thing is like, if we're going to really do this right, it's not about just not seeing folks in the street. It's making sure that we're setting them up with a safe location. And if there's any reason to believe that these places are not being managed correctly, I think it should immediately become a top priority. So I don't know. I mean, I think it makes sense why Councillor Green is really looking into this right now.
I would say I have a similar take. I remember following when Urban Alchemy was coming to town, and the previous city council and the mayor had to be pushed to not give it to Urban Alchemy in a no-bid contract. There was a back and forth about that. And then there was some like Vancouver company that bid, but they like just started existing. So it was kind of like a weird process to begin with. And so bringing in this outside company that has a checkered past in California, you know, like we're hoping for the best, but to see that the same thing has played out here, it seems justified that city resources shouldn't be going in this direction. And I think, Julia, what you said, we talked a lot about the continuum of care and making sure that people are moving from, you know, maybe camping outside to a tiny home village to somewhere where they have like rent support or something for a little while to sort of reintegrate, right? And building out those systems has been challenging across the region, really. It's, I wish this wasn't something that we could have seen coming, you know?
Are you being ironic?
No, never.
Okay. Because it sounded a lot like you were being a little sarcastic there. So Mayor Ted Wheeler's tiny homes and pod villages, something that, you know, the city has continued running, have shown mixed but positive results. It's one of the reasons why we're seeing less homelessness out. History comes to life in Titanic, the artifact exhibition now on view at OMSI. Immerse yourself in a rare opportunity to explore the innovation, ambition, and tragedy of the Titanic while connecting personally with the people whose lives were forever changed by her voyage. With more than 100 authentic artifacts recovered from the wreck site, you'll experience an immersive gallery combining cinematic visuals and powerful audio reenactments that bring the ship's scale, beauty, and tragedy to life. There's also an optional VR tour for a deeper, more interactive exploration. Titanic, the Artifact Exhibition is on view now. Get tickets at omsi.edu. That's omsi.edu. Out in our streets, these Urban Alchemy run villages have self-reported between a 30 to 69% success rate in transitioning their residents into permanent housing. And I remember even the most skeptical local reporters being like, well, they seem to be working when we followed up with them once like everything was established, like a year in or so. And my concern, like I echo all your concerns, but my concern is that I just don't know if the city's going to move fast enough to find a suitable replacement. I think one of the reasons why Mayor Wheeler went with Urban Alchemy is because there's just not that many out there for what he was doing. I mean, it's clear that whatever we're doing appears to be working, at least in the, you know, we can't see what's happening, so people are housed avenue. But like you were saying, Althea, does that mean they're going to then get into permanent housing? I don't think we have a ton of information there. Self-reporting numbers are just self-reporting numbers, and we don't know like if they're following them after a year or two or any of that stuff. But here's a statement that Urban Alchemy issued to K2 in regard to their investigation. They wrote, "Our number one priority remains providing the highest quality care and services for the hundreds of guests we serve. We tune out blatant politics and noise because our work is too important to get distracted. The vulnerable communities and populations we serve deserve certainty. Councillor Green's amendment introduces irresponsible and unnecessary uncertainty. It is performative, and it shows a clear lack of understanding of the negative consequences and chaos it would create for the people who rely on our care. Here are the facts. We are connecting people to permanent housing and positive exits at high rates, and are making communities cleaner, safer, and healthier with our programs, period. So that was their mic drop.
Yeah, seriously.
Because, like, you can't deny what they're saying, but also you can't deny the people who are complaining and the actual lawsuits and the arrests. And so this is a complicated situation that City Council is going to have to figure out.
Mm-hmm. I also think it's a little bit interesting and suspicious that they're very against being interviewed. K2 mentioned how they've tried to talk to them many times and they will not talk. And I'm like, well, why don't you want to talk? It always just makes me think, right?
Yeah.
They didn't want to talk to Nicole Hayden either. Yeah. I think with lawsuits too, once you get lawsuits against you, I think there's a lot of push to not talk. Mm-hmm. Well, we're definitely going to see how that unfolds. Let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, another cheat sheet for all of you who waited until the very last moment to vote in the primary. So yesterday we had political strategist Jake Weigler on the show to talk through some of the primary races, mainly focusing on the governor's race, the gas tax repeal, and the county judge races, because he was actually working on some of the Metro Council races. So this time around, Althea, who was not working on any of the Metro Council races, is going to be breaking down what's going on there, who still have no clue what's on their ballot, which again, due today. At 8, right?
I'll get into it. Let's go, guys. Get your pens out.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, yeah, there's a bunch of races for the Metro Council. Guys, what's the Metro Council? Sometimes you say this to people and you see a little bit of fear in their eyes because what is that? There's another thing I have to vote for. And so I've coined a term. It's not a term, it's a phrase. It's a regional thing. If you're thinking of something regional, it's probably Metro that is dealing with it. So things that cross the county borders between Multnomah, Washington, and Clackamas County, we're talking transportation, we're talking land use planning, we're talking waste management, natural areas, and the supporting housing services tax. All of those are things that Metro has to do with. They make big, long-term, big-scale planning, stuff like that.
And the zoo.
And the zoo. They do the zoo. They do the cemeteries also.
I guess that's land use.
I did not know that. Yeah.
Yeah, all 14 of them. And I'll list them right now. No, sorry. Let's stay on topic. You guys are running out of time to fill out your ballot. Don't worry about how many cemeteries the Metro Regional Government manages, okay? I was looking at some really great reporting from earlier this month by Alex Zielinski over at OPB, talking through some of the races that you'll see on the ballot. One of the biggest ticket items is the Metro Council president race. Former President Lynn Peterson stepped down a couple months ago to become the interim city manager in Lake Oswego. There's also like a 2-term limit for that position, so she was about to term out anyways. And the front runner in this race is Juan Carlos Gonzalez, who has been representing District 4, which is a good chunk of Washington County. He's from Forest Grove, and he's been on council since 2018. He's a big, like, progressive transportation guy, was I think the sole vote against freeway expansion a few years ago, which is pretty interesting. And for him, his kind of main focus is affordability, belonging, and competitiveness is what he's describing. And some of that has to do competitiveness. Yeah, thinking about economic planning and the role that Metro has to play in that with things like the urban growth boundary. And how do we want to tackle those issues, which is, something of an open question. And there is a lot of like long-term goal setting that the Metro president has a big part in. He is also in support of renewing the supportive housing tax. This was something that the Metro Council recently kind of kicked the can down the road on because some polling showed that people weren't thrilled about it. But he wants to do that with more accountability to voters to show that the money is being spent well. He's also been endorsed by a lot of people. The majority of the Metro Council, the former president, Lynn Peterson, he's like running the most serious campaign, but he's been challenged by two people who have fun sort of alliteration in their names, if that gets you going. Chris Christensen and Bruce Broussard, which is fun.
Oh my God.
They're not alike as candidates at all, but they are people, names you might recognize if you like to flip through your voters packet, which is a great way to find out what's going on. But yeah, Chris Christensen is kind of in the real estate world. He's run some unsuccessful campaigns for Senate and House, like on the congressional level before. Bruce Broussard, you've seen him in your packet. There's a handful of other folks, but some of the main things that folks are talking about in this race and across some of the other metro races as well is sustainable housing services, wanting to have more accountability for how those dollars are being spent, and improving public trust. That's like kind of across the board something that people are responding to.
Man, it's so crazy how many regional governments we have.
Yeah.
Because then we also have TriMet, which is different.
I think we should have more.
No, Althea, that's a terrible take.
More.
I mean, I just feel like sometimes I wonder if the reason we're so fractured and it takes forever to do anything is because we have so many freaking governments, All that being said, what I'm hearing is that the front runner, Juan Carlos Gonzalez, might just have this already in the bag. That's what it's sounding like. Because I know if I didn't know anything, I'm just going to pretend like I don't know anything, you guys. I mean, just wild. And I was just going into this race. I would just be like, oh, so that's the guy. Okay. Are there any interesting candidates to you, aside from the ones with the alliterations?
In that race in particular, I mean, Juan Carlos Gonzalez, he has like a pretty strong track record, but it really is, it's interesting to see it as sort of like baton getting passed, because Lynn Peterson is endorsing him and he's endorsing in the race to fill his old seat, which is in District 4. He's sort of like picked out Alex Phan as his sort of successor. And it's interesting to sort of like see that sort of continuation. Also, some reporting, I think, when he announced by Sophie Peel over at Willamette Week was saying that depending on how well he does in this primary, which is, I mean, he's the one with a lot of name recognition and track record on the Metro Council, it may be the case that he just gets appointed by the council after the primary because they're still without a president right now.
Is that it for the Metro Council races? Is that all we're doing?
No, there's two running unopposed. I'll go quick.
Hang on.
Okay.
Hang on.
All right.
In District 2, Christine Lewis running unopposed. Auditor Brian Evans running unopposed. District 1, Ashton Simpson is facing a challenge from Noah Ernst, who you may remember from running for Portland City Council. He's the radio cab guy. That's how I remember him.
Yeah.
I don't know if other people have that frame of reference. He works at Radio Cab. That would be why. So that's one of the contested races. But Ashton Simpson, who's the incumbent, had a lot of endorsements from the mayors within his district and also from like the local newspapers and stuff like that. They were endorsing Simpson. And then in District 4, which was Juan Carlos Gonzalez's old district, Alex Phan, who's a realtor, is the one that's gotten a lot of more of the support, I would say. But they share a lot of similarities, him and his opponent, whose name is Mike Palacios, who is a staffer for one of our state representatives, Winsve Campos. And he's kind of focused on more of the transit side of things, Palacios is. But and then Phan wants to talk about reassessing the urban growth boundary, which I'll be honest, I know it's a big deal and I need to know more about it. So if anybody out there is an urban growth boundary expert and wants to draw a line around what we need to understand, I'm interested.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's catching my eye the most in this race is a lot of folks talking about the urban growth boundary. And I think it's because there's just going to be a lot of decisions made. There's like this 50-year regional land management plan that is going to be led by the Metro Council president. And I'm not going to lie, that gives me a lot of anxiety. I feel like I have like this like protective reaction when someone says urban growth boundary. I'm like, don't touch it. But I know we need to look at it realistically, right?
It's very controversial,
I got to tell you, when I drive to the coast or to, wine country, I do notice just a ton of land that isn't really being used. I mean, of course, land is always being used. There's always ecosystems that are living there and all that. But we do have a lot of land. Same thing, Julia, though. I'm just like, don't take my wineries, you know? My farms.
And that's who you're electing, is who gets to take the wineries away. So pick your poison.
Well, again, you guys, today is the last day to vote. You got to get your ballots in by 8. Thanks, Althea, for talking through some of that. Let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, we're diving into our mailbag. All right, Julia, take it away.
Okay, so this first one comes from listener Sherry, and they're weighing in on a conversation we had last week with local food reporter Brooke Jackson-Glidden, talking about the ongoing efforts to ban foie gras. I feel like I'm going to tongue twist that word a few times in this.
You said foie gras.
Yeah, you added like an R.
Wait, how do you pronounce?
Which they should ban that too, for the record.
How do you pronounce this?
Foie.
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 Foie. Gras.
Foie gras.
Foie
Foie
gras.
gras. There we go.
Okay.
Banning it in Portland. This is what they said. First off, I have visited foie gras farms, a family-run farm with happy geese. Honestly, the feeding is a complete non-event. On their own, twice a year, geese gorge on food, which expands their liver. This is to give them the stores of extra energy needed to make a long migration north or south. So the feeding is imitating a process that happens without human intervention. If someone doesn't want to consume foie gras, there we go, then nobody should force them to do so. I don't want to consume fast food, so I don't. Others do, that's their choice. Also, why pick on Gabriel Rucker? He's had 15 James Beard nominations. His restaurants put Portland on the map nationally. His work attracts tourists to our city, and he happens to be an incredible human and boss and creates a very healthy kitchen culture at all his restaurants, all while remaining completely humble, dedicated, and down to earth. These are the type of people and businesses that the city should be encouraging to operate in the city. Oof, there's a lot there. I also appreciated the insight into that, at least that specific farm and how they're handling eating this food possible. And I hear her on the Gabriel Rucker point. I think that's the debate, right? It's how do we weigh these issues that a lot of activists feel really strongly about, but also continue to support our businesses as well.
Have they ever made synthetic foie gras?
Synthetic? What do you mean?
They make like
have no
impossible
idea.
meat. People like that, okay.
Like
I'm sure.
Impossible goose liver.
Oh, gotcha. Like foie gras with a Z somewhere?
Yeah. Or just the way that Julia pronounced it initially.
Yeah. Foie gras.
Foie gras.
This has all been a business pitch for my fake goose liver scenario.
I love that you said goose liver scenario instead of foie gras because you can't say it.
I'm not saying it again.
I love that you just talked around it. Okay, whatever.
Okay. Anyway, this next one comes from listener Brett S., and they're talking about a recent poll that revealed over 40% of Portland residents are considering moving. Executive producer John Notoriani brought this up on the show last week based on some reporting by Matthew Kish at the Oregonian. And this is the note. Hello. Wasn't mentioned in the talk this morning, but where do these 41% of people who want to leave Portland want to move to? Personally, I'm not moving back to NYC, moved from there 20 years ago. Not moving to California, not moving to Florida for family, not moving to anywhere in the Midwest. What's the next new place? So I looked into this story a little bit more, and of that 41%, about half of them said they'd move to a different state entirely. And this is because of high taxes, cost of housing, and public safety generally. And there were also some folks interviewed in connection with the poll that said that they were considering moving to Washington, Denver, Chicago, Michigan, and just out of the U.S. in general. So that does give a little bit more insight, I hope answers this question for Brett S. But I really don't believe that any of those places are going to be without those top issues anyway. So I understand that question completely.
Where would you move to out of all those places?
The ones I listed?
Yeah.
I've never been to Chicago,
I love Chicago.
and I've heard really amazing things. So I would just go out of curiosity, give it a couple of years, see how it goes.
It wouldn't be Denver, I'll tell you that. It would not be Denver.
Squalorado, I like to call it.
But Chicago's pretty cool. I think it's a very underrated city.
Yeah, I think that would be my top out of those. I do have another one here. This next one is from listener Kyle C. And they said, Hey y'all, you said recently that nobody had ever written in saying they'd done stuff you recommended in your monthly guide. Well, I can't remember if this was or wasn't in your monthly guide, but I went to Depot Bay last weekend, which this was in one of our guides recently. I'm born and raised in Portland and have been there many times, but I have never seen a whale there before. This time we were wandering along the boardwalk and I saw the whale watching center. I usually probably would have just kept going on with what we were doing, but because of you all, I convinced everyone to go in. It was amazing, and they were tracking a whale with a camera on a giant screen as we walked in. That helped us recognize what to look for. We then saw a million whales all weekend. So cute. Then, on our way home, we swung by In-N-Out in Kaiser. I love burgers, but I've never loved theirs. I've always thought they were fine. I still think that, but they have improved now that I tried the animal-style burger and fries. Still meh. But better meh, thanks to you all. Thanks.
Aww.
So sweet.
Aw, thanks for writing that in.
I love the combination of tips there. Yeah. And really, it does feel so nice to hear back from folks that they're actually trying these things out. That is like such a sweet little day, too. Little whale watching, little In-N-Out. So sweet. So I have one last one here, and this is from listener Will H. They're adding another tip to our regular contributors guide, Alex Frayne, of lists of places to check out in Astoria that he recently shared on the show. So their tip is, Astoria has the best clam chowder on the Oregon coast, at least as far as I can find. It's at the Silver Salmon. The Silver Salmon is an expensive high-end restaurant. In 2018, dinner for two ran almost $200. I imagine it's only higher now. But, in all caps, there is a side entrance at the Silver Salmon, and it's a bar.
They're like, there's a broke-ass entrance. There's a,
Don't go around the front.
there's a little brokey alley. Go on. I'm listening.
And there, apparently, you can get a cheap bowl of the best clam chowder and a side of some extremely decadent cheesy bread and a buoy beer canned right down the street, which sounds awesome. It's kind of giving me like the same vibes as like the lounge at Clyde's, where it's like, oh, you're maybe not doing a full dinner, but you can go hang out in the lounge and have a martini and an appetizer, which is so sweet. I really look forward to checking this place out next time I'm up there.
Yeah, thanks for the tip. And I want people to know that when you give us tips, we actually do try them out. Maybe we should also be sharing. Maybe we should like be doing what we're preaching, you know?
Giving our reviews after we go.
Yeah. Be like, that was a terrible tip. Never tell us what to do again. Just joking.
Listener so-and-so has only bad ideas.
No, actually, that sounds awesome. I love clam chowder and I love getting a deal. So this already is up my alley. Well, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It was a pleasure, Althea, Julia. It's been a while, so it's nice to have you both on the show again. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Claudia.
I had a fun time. I hope you did too.
I'm so glad, Althea.
Hey, executive producer John Notarianni here with a special segment brought to you by Diamore Law Group. And just a note, this segment mentions sexual abuse, so please take care when listening. I'm talking with Anna Brunkenhofer, attorney at Diamore Law. Anna, thanks for being here. Welcome to CityCast Portland.
Glad to be here.
So, Anna, your firm represents survivors of sexual abuse, which, of course, incredibly sensitive, high-stakes work. For folks who might not be familiar with Diamore Law, though, can you tell us about what makes your firm's approach different?
We take a very survivor-centered approach, which for us means that we don't do anything for the sake of the case that would be detrimental to the client. So the client and their well-being always needs to come first.
When we're talking about these types of sexual abuse cases, they can make people feel overwhelmingly vulnerable, completely understandably. And a lot of these cases involve people who are in positions of power, doctors, coaches, religious leaders, educators. How do you make your clients feel safe going through this process?
I think because the legal field can feel very overwhelming, I think part of what we try to do is give some control back to our clients. For a lot of survivors, from what I've heard, is that sense of loss of control is huge. And so to the extent that we can keep them fully informed on the steps that we're taking, on what we think the potential next steps may be, walk them through everything so they have a good understanding of what's coming, that they can make decisions that feel right for them. I think really just trying to give them as much knowledge as we can on what to expect. I always tend to think that knowledge is power.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and speaking of vulnerability, it is not easy to speak out when you're facing a situation like this. I'm wondering what sort of steps your firm can take to actually protect these clients as they're going through the legal process.
There are several that we actually do take. We can file lawsuits under pseudonyms. We use protective orders. We limit the types of disclosures, remove any unnecessary disclosures. We make sure that we carefully structure depositions. We also prepare our clients really well for depositions, so there's no surprises along the way. And I think we try to set really clear boundaries with opposing counsel as well to make sure that depositions are done in a trauma-informed way, that the clients are not being harassed. So I think we do what we can to try to help these clients because this is a very difficult process to go through.
That's really interesting to me. How do you set those types of boundaries with an opposing counsel? Like, what sort of power does a firm like yours have to do that?
Most of the time, in a lot of opposing counsel that we've worked with, I think they try to go about it in a very trauma-informed way. But when they don't, we make sure to shut it down. Yeah. So we would never allow them to harass or bully our clients or put our clients into a position that's going to be detrimental to their mental health and well-being.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you're in a situation like this, I just have to imagine that not only is there the people who are the abusers in this situation, but often these situations are met with denial from entire institutions, from the places where they work, from the power structures that they are a part of. How do you push back against that?
Well, denial is certainly very common in these cases, whether from the institution or the individuals involved. We fight all of those denials in court. We try to build strong evidence-based cases. We are fully prepared to litigate them. We work with experts, do thorough investigations, and we certainly don't wait for the institutions to do the right thing. We build cases that require them to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, in this environment, when there's so much at stake, when people have this deep vulnerability that they're bringing to bear, like, from your perspective, what does justice actually look like for the people that you represent?
I think justice can be very different depending on the survivor. For some clients, they really want to have their day in court. They want a public verdict. They want the public to know what's happened to them. Mm-hmm. For others, I think it can be a private resolution that allows them to feel like they can move forward while the institutions and individuals involved have still faced some accountability. For others, they want to see policy reform or policy changes. And for some of our clients, they want criminal accountability. And while we certainly, can't control the criminal aspect, we can certainly do our part to work with those that are prosecuting to try to help in any way that we can.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think it is a common thought, whether here in Portland or really anywhere, that it might seem like it's too big of an institution. They're too powerful to take on, that like it's a losing fight, and that even if you go through the legal process, it might not be worth it. I'm wondering what you would say to someone who's carrying that belief.
I think it's a very common belief is that a lot of these institutions are too big or too powerful to take on. But I think with the right support, institutions of any size can be held accountable. Size and power certainly do not make you immune from responsibility. It just means that we need to be very careful in how we build our case and pursue it with diligence and persistence. And I think at Diamore Law Group, we've made it our business to take on those fights.
Mm-hmm. Well, Anna, thanks for taking a minute to talk with me about it. And thank you so much for the work you do. This is such important stuff. So really, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, John. It was a real pleasure to be here.
If you or someone you know is a survivor and looking for support, you can learn more about Diamore Law Group and reach out for a confidential consultation at diamorelaw.com. We'll have a link in our show notes. Thanks for listening.
That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Leave us an amazing review. Seriously, leave us reviews. People actually use them. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Portland neighbor, ad-free listening, invites to member-only events. Just visit membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's. Or the side restaurant at the Silver Salmon.
The aluminum salmon, because it's cheap.
The aluminum salmon.
That's great. See you there.
Bye.